22.
22. So we're making headway.
Getting
Our
close.
This is 21.
Our sole goal
Is it 21, really?
It's 21.
now that we're on episode 27 is to catch the Iron Man Insider.
I thought I remembered it from last time. Clearly not.
So it's
21.
21. That's what I thought.
Can't win them all, Marcus.
After our last episode, it's funny, we don't have a lot of followers, let's be honest. Like it's like 100 people, but 25 people
Yes.
reached out or said something to me.
I had people on the ground go, hey, when are you guys going to do another podcast?
And realizing that the 500 Cats podcast, I can hear the rain on the roof here in the studio, so it's going to get loud. The 500 Cats podcast is in our signatures.
Yes.
And I never considered the fact that we were emailing people, we were talking, and not disrespectfully, because that would be
Yeah.
wrong. Period. That'd make us like the YouTube commenters. Well, that would make us better because
we had our names attached.
we have our names. We're not using burner
we offered to
accounts.
fight them.
But the number of people that commented, and it is interesting that it's not just the content we make, it's everything these days.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm looking for some saddlebags for my motorcycle, and one of them I saw I really liked. Like the first comment was like, the people that made these should be shot.
I don't
just like,
understand
jeez.
the
wait a
hate for
minute.
everything.
They're saddlebags. This is extreme. They're saddlebags for a motorcycle. And even if they're poor quality, which they're not,
Right. But
even if
they are,
I don't think somebody deserves to be shot. Not even in the foot.
yeah, you would just say, hey, I didn't like these. I don't recommend them. That's all you need.
But do you think the person actually
Used
bought
them? No.
the saddlebags for? No, they didn't.
Or
And-
it's the guy who bought them and put bowling balls in them and went off road. And he's like, these things suck. They rip open every time I hit a bump. Yeah, you put bowling balls in them.
So, yeah, realizing that our podcast is in our signature, and yeah, I just cracked me up. And the one that was the most was, and I won't even mention names, but it was one of the IT people from Iron Man.
Yeah.
And what was his name? Remind me. Thurman.
Yeah.
And great guy.
Awesome guy.
But what cracked me up was that, you know, we're doing a serious job for him, and then he listens to the podcast where we're like, we'll fight our YouTube detractors. So
It's what you get, though. It's what you get with us.
yeah.
and
it's
I
true.
think, and we haven't reported back
is
to
us.
him, and if he is still listening, I think the way we divided up the internet for the Starlink worked well. We'll
I
get
think
back to
so,
you on
yeah.
that. But I didn't hear that it didn't work well, although I was in the studio this weekend and you guys were all out in the field. So anyway, let's start with that. I guess we're going all the way back. Are we going back to Eagle Man? I thought we talked about that last week.
I was not here, so
On
I put
the
it in there because I was
6th.
in Eagle Man.
Well,
Oh,
I
we
think,
did touch base on Eagle Man because we talked about the broadcast.
Oh,
yeah, and
there
I
you go.
don't think we gave enough credit to Race Car Drone Guy.
Yeah.
And we named this guy Race Car Drone Guy because we're too inconsiderate to know his real name. But he flies a drone for the broadcasts. And I think we just mentioned it last time. But a lot of
Yeah.
comments on how amazing him flying next to the bikes at probably 30 miles an hour, 25 to 30
Yeah.
miles an hour.
And the altitude
Under the
was,
high line.
was about
yeah.
the altitude was about the height of a water bottle cage on the bike. So like that's what we're talking about. He's like skinning the grass in the shoulder, like off the shoulder of the road, like below the athlete's saddle.
He was below the stop signs.
It was crazy cool.
Yeah.
I was more
It was
worried
impressive.
that he was going to hit the tall grass
Yeah.
than the phone lines or the power lines, whatever.
Definitely.
Well, he was 20 feet below the phone lines. He wasn't
Yeah.
going to hit those.
And so kudos to him. We've
Yeah.
thrown his name around when people are like, do you know anybody? And we're like,
Race car drone guy.
Race car drone guy.
I got the perfect race car drone guy for you.
So we did talk a little bit about Eagle Man, and a great event, great broadcast. And it was kind of buried in the whirlwind, which is the last 5 months,
Yeah.
which is starting to come to an end. And I know that's a little bit disrespectful to say that in front of Ryan, who goes to Coeur d'Alene this week. But I think the three of us are home this week.
Yep.
And then we're home next week.
Yep.
And then
Like
We-
pal.
we scheduled
Powell,
a
yeah.
company retreat with a houseboat
The day after Blues Traveler.
at Lake
I'm
Powell.
so excited.
Yeah, we couldn't leave when we wanted to because we have Blues Traveler at Red Rocks. And we won't be inviting our clients and friends to Lake Powell, but if you would like to come to Blues Traveler
Yeah.
on the 4th of July, it's the most Colorado patriotic thing
It's so much fun.
ever.
I'm excited. I haven't gone.
Really?
Yeah, this will be my first year going.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So
Yeah.
what's cool, we usually sit down front, but if you don't sit down front and you sit up at the top or the back, you can see the fireworks throughout the whole,
Everyone's backyard fireworks as far as you
Yeah.
can see to Denver.
and Mile High Stadium.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's cool.
all night long,
All
like
night.
from
It
twilight
doesn't
to
stop.
Yeah.
so we're excited for that. And Blues Traveler, who we've been huge fans of. We got to work with them once a
Yeah.
long time ago, but it was
That's
in
cool.
Kansas City, Missouri. Great people. So can't wait to go see them. Anyway, back to events. So we had Ironman 70.3 Boulder this past weekend. It's kind of our home event. And I was out there for one day, but great group, great event.
Mhm.
Like that is one event that I'll bet if you just didn't show up, the athletes would show up and do the race and have a good time.
You know what? I agree with that.
And that's not to take away of all the hard work
No.
that everybody put in, but it's so automatic
Yep.
that
It's
people
the kind of people who do it every day anyway. They ride those roads. Like, generally speaking, there's a lot of locals who do that race.
Yeah, and you know what? I was super happy to see that Sam Appleton won.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound disrespectful, and I don't think he listens to our podcast. He's 35, and I'll be honest, I'd seen him. I see him all the time, and he
Yeah.
always says hi, and we know each other. But he hasn't had a ton of success in the last few years,
Yep.
and so I would have incorrectly thought maybe he was over the hill, for lack of a better term. And I know 35 isn't over the hill in triathlon by any means,
Right.
especially if you look at Patrick Lange. But I kind of thought maybe his winning days were over. And then he wins Ironman Australia this year. So he punches his ticket to Kona. And then he wins Ironman 70.3 Boulder. So he punches his ticket to Marabella. And now it's kind of not over the hill, but back to top contender.
Yeah.
And I don't follow him enough to know if he's had injuries or whatever, but it's good to see somebody who's just a good dude have that kind of success. And I've said this before, he's Australian, but he lives in Boulder. You'd have to go back through the years, but people don't win this race unless they live in Boulder
Yeah.
because of the altitude. And it's not like a crazy difficult course or anything like that, but it's got some intricacies that if you are familiar with will help you.
It's a surprisingly easy course. The hardest thing is when it's hot, like it was Saturday, the run is brutal. There's
no
like
cover.
no
There's
cover,
no shade.
and the dirt is hot, and then you get on asphalt, and the asphalt's hot, and
Yeah, I can't think of many other races that are predominantly on gravel surface
yeah,
for the run, which is very Boulder, very Colorado, which probably plays to that as well.
true.
Yeah.
And then before you fill the YouTube comments with anger, there was no female pro field.
Yes,
It was
So-
a male.
that's why we're only showing the men.
That's why we're just that's why we're just talking about Sam Appleton.
And if you would just give us a second, we're going to get to the race with all the women.
And then another, not yet, but
Not yet.
another big one is our guy, John Michelle, who works for BCC Live, did his first triathlon and did Ironman 70.3 Boulder
Yeah,
and finished.
he finished.
Yeah, congrats.
7:27.
Johnny swim
That's
bike
awesome.
run.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm impressed, although it's funny, I had to work that afternoon in the studio for Ironman Cans. And the broadcast started at 3 p.m. And he said, well, if you come out, you can see me finish. And I said, well, I mean, I'd have to leave by 12:30. You think I'm going to see you finish? And he's like, yeah, probably. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
man, he's trained way more than I thought. And the truth cameth.
Yeah, it did.
And because your first 70.3, and this is probably the right advice, you should probably get a coach.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
all
It's
of
not wrong.
us did it uncoached, and we all had the same experience as John Michelle is we had a great day until our training ran out of coins.
And then you're walking a half marathon.
And then you're
I took out a loan that did not cover the principal.
and a coach would help you train for that. And it's just, your body's not used to going 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing, a friend of mine once told me, and I had done 70.3s before, but this was Waco a few years ago. And he said, you're going to have a great time for 4 hours. And sure enough, like the moment I started to feel crappy, I looked at my watch and it was like 3 hours and 55 minutes. That was courtesy of Eric Wim at
so
Slow
funny.
Twitch. But he's right. If you don't train properly, and I'm not being critical of Johnny, he got it done.
Yeah. He
But if
did
you
better than I
If you
did.
don't train properly, like 4 hours is where the fun ends.
Yeah.
So depending on where you are on the course at that time, for me, that's like getting off the bike.
Yeah.
So kudos to him.
Yep.
And kudos to Zoot. Like for
Yeah.
something that didn't pan out like we had hoped. So it's on us because we ordered a one-off kit for him, and it's the costume that you wear. And we ordered a one-off, so they were going to print one to match our tri club, and we ordered it after the deadline.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll do our best. And then race week last week, they said, hey, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get it done, which was nice rather
Yeah.
than just let us figure it out by checking the mail every day. And they said, do you want us to send you a kit so we have something to wear? And they did.
They did.
That's
yeah.
awesome. That's really nice.
He got it on. He got it on race morning because it showed up like the day before, but it happened, and he
Yeah.
was super thankful for it.
And then he
That's
did
awesome.
two. So if you are into triathloning, he made two critical mistakes, the same mistake twice. And I think the kit worked out fine,
Yeah.
but then his wetsuit didn't work out fine. And I was like, did you swim in it before? He's like, yeah, I mean, once.
Oh no.
And so like, try not to try new things on race day.
I didn't hear this story because I had to leave before he finished. What was wrong with the wetsuit?
It didn't fit.
Ah,
Well, and it probably fit great, but he wasn't used to swimming in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not broken in.
Yeah, and I know I learned that the hard way, or I've had experience in wetsuits in my life, and
Yeah.
it's like ski boots.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, wear new ski boots on the first day of like the 24 hours of Tremblant.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to take your old beat up ones that you're used to. So I think he just hadn't swam in it,
And then,
Yeah.
I mean,
He still did 47 minutes in the swim, so he still did a great time.
and he said he had to stop and like
Try to
readjust
breathe.
his.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wetsuit.
I mean, I don't know why, but he put a T-shirt on over top of his kit because he wanted to represent BCC on like the hottest day of the year. So
Dude, kudos.
yeah, kudos to him. I would like.
It was-
I love our company, but man, it was hot, and I don't know that I want another layer on.
Yeah.
The cotton
Layers
layer-
is
a
wild
cotton
for
layer.
sure.
Yeah,
It was
well,
fun to watch.
kudos
His
to
brother showed up with 12-pack of beer and like a charcuterie board at the finish line tent.
Nice.
Like,
Nice.
It was like caprese, and I was like, this is pretty cool.
It was weird being home in Boulder, but not going out there. Like I went out there on Thursday and Friday, but
Yeah.
not going out there on Saturday. It was weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I
it
could see
really
that.
was weird.
Oh,
Um,
and then we did something after that for Justin Metzler.
Oh yeah, we recorded a live podcast episode at Avery. He interviewed the pro podium,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool
That is
because
cool.
Justin is being a colleague, obviously, of the podium fellas and like good friend. The type of conversation they have is totally unique. It's not like what you get when Z interviews the podium in the finish shoot. It's like us talking about their day. So it's definitely a different type of content that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was happy to see him finishing 8th,
Yeah.
which
after
I'm sure he wishes he was higher up, but this is after like a blown out Achilles,
Yeah.
which seems unrecoverable, much less getting back into professional triathlon.
Professional
Yeah.
racing. I know it's
So
insane.
kudos to him. Good race all around. And then I think one of the coolest things about that race was awards that take place at Avery Brewery in Gun Barrel. And I wish more, and I know it's not convenient for everybody, but the reservoir, there's not a lot to do out there besides like swim, bike, and run.
And, get
And
caught in
then-
a storm.
and get caught in a storm, and you have to ride shuttle buses out there. So the awards were at Avery, and I love that. Like, one of the things I learned years and years ago at a running conference was your last touch of the customer, your last impression of the customer is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't think you do awards in front of like a 10 by 10 tent with like one speaker and no podium. That I think you try to make it memorable, play a video,
Yeah.
have an actual podium for people to stand on, do it in front of a step and repeat backdrop,
Yeah.
play music as people are walking up on stage, get a stage. Everything I just mentioned there is like a couple $1,000, which I get is a lot for like a community 5K, but for some of these big 2,000-3,000 person races, that's not a lot. And then it's what you see on social.
Yep.
Because it's hard to take pictures of people out on the bike course, but it's easy to take pictures of people holding their trophy up and have a good experience. And then Avery has good food and beer.
Yeah, totally.
I was sad to miss that.
They've been a good partner. I know Tim has been putting on those every other Tuesday, first and third Tuesday bike rides out there.
Are you going today?
I'm not going today.
It's raining outside.
It's raining.
right
It's
now.
nasty. I had looked at the radar. I was like, bike can stay home today. But I went to the first one, and it was drizzling. It wasn't raining, but it was muddy. It was a great time. They bring out a bike tech from Trek. They bring out a DJ, and then the guys from Avery are hanging out there and drink beer, ride your bikes a little bit, and then come back and drink some more beer. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they've been
Nice.
a good partner. And Ironman's been a good partner to the
Yeah.
city of Boulder and the Res. And Stacy Cole of the Reservoir has always been a good friend for 20 years. And so it's a cool event. I'm sorry that I missed it this year. And we'll get to that in a minute. But Marcus, you were where the women,
Yep.
We're
Speaking
in
of the women, they were
Ironman
in
70.3 Pennsylvania.
Happy Valley. That's
and
right.
that takes place at,
At State College at Beaver Stadium.
yeah,
With
we're
Penn
at Penn
State.
State.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Which
a
is pretty cool.
gigantic stadium.
Yeah.
And we used to finish in there, but we didn't finish in there this year because it's like under construction or something.
Oh, it's majorly under construction. It is $800 million renovation.
Crazy.
Wow. How can you not just build a new stadium for that?
I know. That's what we were all like, what in the world are you doing? That's not just rebuilding a stadium. But it was cool. So it wasn't closed down, but we didn't finish there. And the consensus has been it was a better finish line because people could be right up on the finish, whereas they couldn't when it was on the field.
Because they had to be in the bleachers.
Exactly. So they were super far away. It wasn't the same vibe, but they ran the track. Well, it's not a track, but it's the outside of the field is turf. They ran the turf around the edge of the field in the stadium, and we played music in there. And it was a pretty cool vibe, and then finished out on the street, and it's like a normal finish line. All the people are crowded around, loud music and stuff. And so it was really cool. And Jeannie, who would also, Justin's wife, also,
Jeannie Metzler. Jeannie
Yep.
used to be Jeannie Seymour.
yep, she also was recovering from, I don't think it was Achilles, but she also had been out for a while trying to recover from some injuries. This was her first race back also. She came third behind
Nice.
Chelsea Sodaro, who is a world champ, and a newcomer who outran Chelsea Sodaro. She came, Lydia Russell.
Yeah, impressive.
It was crazy. So I had turned on the music and I was walking out of the stadium as they were running in, and I see it was Lopez came first. She was off the bike first, about a minute ahead of Sodaro. Sodaro's in second, and then Jeannie was in third. And I want to say Jeannie was 3 minutes down. I want to say Russell came off the bike like 4 or 5 minutes down. I'd have to go look to be certain of that. But ran down, of all people, Chelsea Sodaro, who's such a good runner, to win. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
Impressive.
And she was a local. I mean,
And
Philly.
that's after Sodaro came in
Local-ish.
second at Eagleman and almost ran down Lucy. She
Oh,
she ran
yeah.
out of real estate, but she was gaining on her pretty good.
Yeah, and
Which
I
is
saw
crazy.
Chelsea say that this was the first time she had done back-to-back,
and that does make a lot of
70.3s.
sense.
which for some athletes is a big deal. Like for me, it would be impossible, but for some athletes, they can do it.
Yeah.
I remember Matt Russell used to just race every single weekend.
Yeah.
Here, let's see here off the bike. Yeah, Lopes, and then Sodaro was 152 back, and then Grace Alexander was 153 back. Jeannie Metzler was 327 back, and Lydia Russell was 332 back. Yeah, so to make up 3 minutes and 32 seconds on the run against, not just Chelsea Sodaro, but also Grace Alexander and Jeannie Metzler.
Yeah.
So a great race. I don't love the single gender races. And I more have experience with them in broadcasting. And so I think for a broadcast, it makes it way worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a men's race or a women's race, because there's so much more to cover when it's a dual gender race.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but in person, I'm a little bit ambivalent to single gender races, but even like that, the news I got was for Boulder.
Yeah.
Not for Pennsylvania.
Right. Well, and the news I got was Pennsylvania. As a matter of fact, I had to ask Jeannie how Justin had done.
And so your race was the day after, so she obviously knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Did you get a tour of like the Hall of Fame and stuff?
Nah.
You go to a baseball game?
Nope.
Oh, did they do anything fun?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Seriously?
You know what? I didn't leave on Monday until 3 p.m., so I did go to like an underwater cave, which was pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet. But they didn't have, Josh didn't have like a barbecue or nothing?
Not that I
Not
was
that
invited
Marcus
to.
was invited to.
Damn.
So let me ask you, since you've been to both of them, and Ryan, you could chime in on this, from an athlete's perspective, and not because Boulder's the best place in the world, but from an athlete's perspective, what's the better choice if you live, let's say, you live in St. Louis or somewhere like halfway?
Honestly, the better athlete experience, the better course is 100% Happy Valley.
Yeah, interesting.
I think it's harder.
It's definitely harder, which is wild.
It's a lot of climbing.
A lot of hills,
Yeah.
including on the run, bunch of hills.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's lush. Whereas Boulder, there's no like canopy really. It's not that Boulder's not beautiful. You have the mountains right there, but there's not a lot of like foliage.
Yeah,
You're kind of in the middle of town, and
I'm the first person that I love 70.3 Boulder, but it's not my favorite race.
yeah.
That
Happy Valley is beautiful. The only negative about the race itself, and there's no way around this, is it's a split transition.
Yeah. And it's like 45 minutes away.
I changed my mind.
The state park's beautiful though.
Yeah, it got tore up by mud.
Yeah.
And some people trying to drive lulls on wet grass. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, forklifts and lulls and stuff in wet grass. I mean, a lull will make it, but it'll ruin the grass.
Oh, it was
did.
bad.
So we're kicked out, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah,
Essentially.
we're not swimming there anymore.
Well, anyway, I was glad both those races successful on all counts, is my understanding. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. And then the rest of us were, I don't want to say stuck in the studio, but stuck in the studio for Ironman Cairns, which is a pro race in Australia. And as far as racing goes, amazing.
Yeah.
Like absolutely amazing as far as racing goes. Like Matt Marquardt, American, who's been inconsistent is an understatement.
Yeah.
Like some days he looks like the best triathlete in the world, and the other days he's walking.
But
And out of the swim, he's walking because he's got the cramps and he's had these cramping issues. And we wrote that guy off, all of us in the studio, because in commercial breaks, we talk to the commentators and be like, well, he's done. and I'm not saying our commentators said that. I did. But he ends up coming back and winning the race.
That's
kind
awesome.
of convincingly. Like, yeah, he took the lead, I think, with like 10 kilometers to go, maybe a little bit more than that. But then, and it didn't win by a lot, won by like a minute or two,
yeah.
but was pretty convincing. I've never seen in my career somebody show so much pain on their face. And if you get a chance, go back to Outside TV or YouTube or look at the cut down, and you can just see this guy running with just this grimace. Like it looked like I've never seen somebody run that long with that kind of pain on their face
Yeah.
at that speed. And it's
Jeez.
funny because when we looked at him from the helicopter shot, you wouldn't know. He looked
Yeah.
fine. But when you looked at him we're in front of the athletes and we shoot back, he just like it looked like he had a knife in his back.
Man.
So kudos to him.
I feel like
Yeah.
though you can't talk about him being inconsistent without talking about one of the probable causes of him being inconsistent is that has going for his doctorate right now.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing about this race, and if you watch the race, we're just beating the dead horse, is that he was on a cruise before the race.
Oh, really?
And he had to put in this like training block on the cruise, like on a stationary bike and swimming with a rubber band and just crazy stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, he does a lot other. He's in cancer research.
Yeah.
Either is a doctor or becoming a doctor.
I haven't heard if he has graduated. I know last season he was still in the midst of his doctorate.
And I think the cruise was because his wife or fiance had just graduated.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or yeah.
Didn't he get
Yeah,
second in the Pro
celebrating.
Series last year?
No.
I
Second or
don't
third?
think so.
No. He had a rough go of it
Yeah.
in Topa.
I thought it was between him and the other guy for first. Like whoever won.
He was in the running going into Topa, but
Yeah.
it didn't pan out.
That was it.
He
Yeah,
was
'cause
one of three that
was,
could take it, and I think he
That's
like
what it was.
DNF'd
and
or
he DNF'd.
something.
Yeah, that was it.
And so nobody but Australians have won that race. And lo and behold, out of the blue, 2 Americans win.
Yeah.
So what a great race overall. Why can't I think of her name? You're going to have to edit this out. Oh my gosh. Please edit this out. I'm pulling up my tracker.
Same.
I can see her face. She wore pink. I did the edit. I did the post-race edit of the whole event. Why is Pennsylvania still in the tracker? But
You just pulled it up to look at the people out of
no, I know, but it was because it was like on the homepage. Jackie Herring. So Jackie Herring also won. And man, so she had a bad race in Hamburg and had a flat that like she couldn't fix. And then I think my guess is she's like, well, if I don't go beat myself to death on the marathon against 2 of the best runners in the world, I have a chance to turn around. So 1 week later, she races in Cairns and like in a workman way won.
Yeah.
Like came out of the water a little bit back, gained like half of it on the run or on the bike, gained the other half of it on the run.
That's impressive. It was a good field too. Like Hannah Berry, who was in second, and Lotta Wilms, who was in third.
Yeah.
They're both excellent.
And there was a time it only lasted like 30, 45 seconds, which was interesting that they all 3 were running together.
Oh yeah.
But like as soon as they all, clumped together is right when Jackie Herring just hit the gas and was like, peace.
Yeah.
And really ran away from them. Like
That's
really
crazy.
fast. So anyway, it was a good race. The highlight, sorry to yammer on about Cairns, was the 92-year-old
Yeah.
who did it. And you'll have to dig up his name.
Hiro. Sorry, let me Google it because I know he did it. He did Hanu a few years back too.
Yeah, and I remember you did some photography, some videography of him, but super cool. We had a field reporter. His name was Will McCoy, and he's out there waiting for the pros to show up, and then he just interrupted his own broadcast with, "Here comes this guy. He's 92 years old." And man, he looked good for 92. Definitely check his ID, but he looked good for 92. And
Hiromu Inada.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he finished late. He did the 70.3, so the Ironman 70.3 cans, and he finished and impressive.
Dude, absolutely incredible. Like
92.
what a legend.
Who do you know that's 92 that's
Yeah.
even doing like half marathons?
I mean,
I don't know anyone
Sitting on
that's
a bicycle.
alive. I don't know anyone alive that's 92.
Yeah, that's doing, and the people that I do aren't riding bikes, aren't.
yeah.
And this guy did his 70.3.
And you know what? It's been consistency for him, like that has taken him because it was 2 years ago because I know he was 90 whenever he did the
Hanu.
70.3 in Hanu, and so it was, yeah, like the fact that he just keeps going and putting in the work, and that's amazing.
He was running when we saw him on the run course.
Yeah.
That's one step up from where I was the last time I did a 70.3. So, but that was it. The broadcast went well, and it wasn't as fun as being at 70.3 Boulder,
Yeah.
but it was, so we used one of our commentators was in Australia and came in over Zoom, and we've made major strides. By the end of the show, it didn't sound like Zoom,
Well, that's good.
but in the 9 hours between the beginning of the show and the end of the show, there was a lot of
Zoom.
tweaking. Well, the first thing that helps is when you get on Zoom, make sure that you're not using your AirPods for your audio.
Yeah, that'll
So
help.
we solved that pretty quickly, but then there's just a lot of tunage.
Did you end up with having to like EQ it, or did you just keep moving it closer and closer to his
No,
mouth?
we EQ'd it.
Okay.
Yeah, and moved it further and further.
Oh, interesting.
Because it wasn't like it. So there, if you just had no EQ and everything, it sounded like what our podcast mics sound like.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sound what Matt Lieto sounds like with a headset mic on.
Right.
So you honestly had to dumb it down a little bit and get rid of some of that low end, just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So by the end of the show, I thought it sounded good. And when I went and did the edit, we edit the show after the show. Towards the end, it sounded great,
Nice.
except for the 1, 2, 3 second gap. And they got really good. So Matt Lieto was one of our hosts, and Craig Alexander in Australia was one of our hosts. And they got really good at they didn't really talk over each other, but 2 or 3 times all day, which is impressive. But that was through like waiting to see if the other guy was going to say something.
Yeah.
And so there was those weird gaps. But then in the post-race edit, I just took all those out.
Nice.
That you separate the audio track from the video track, and then you can just make them say whatever you want.
I feel like we just need to send these remote host headsets. Just buy them and ship them to them.
You know, that's an interesting thought. So they don't, this is a true story. They don't really make a broadcast USB headset.
No, they
And
don't.
I wouldn't have, so then you immediately get into gaming.
Yep.
And then you got to be okay with like lights on your ears and lights on your
Yeah.
microphone. And I spent a significant amount of time, because your thinking is right. Let's just give everybody the same thing. And in hindsight,
We can just adapt
what we
it.
should have done is send everybody broadcast headsets and then used a Focusrite.
Yeah.
Would have been the right way to do it. But that ship sailed a long time ago when we were like, this will be fine.
Yeah.
So that's what, and in fact, if I had to go way back and do it again, would send everybody a Focusrite, which is a little USB audio device, and then an MD46, and then some headphones like we're wearing right now.
Yeah. That's the
And
way to
then,
do
so
it.
that's essentially Marcus's setup right now.
Yep.
That to me would be the setup that I could get tuned together pretty easily to sound like they're in the studio. You'll never be able to deal with the delay. And on
Right.
Zoom, it's very minimal.
Yeah.
And then we had a field reporter. I mentioned him. His name's Will McCoy. And he came in over a live view pack. And same thing. Like we set his live view pack to 2 seconds. And so there's a 2-second delay when the hosts were like, Will, what's up? And so in that you expect when you throw down
Right.
into the field and stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's a never ending race and chase for technology.
True.
But not to get too techie, but you guys will probably appreciate or agree with this. Live view, or not live view, Visit started, they got rid of Skype
Yeah.
and they just shut it off at the beginning of May. And we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? Because we have all these really expensive Skype servers. Well, we ate those because there's nothing you can do with them. But Zoom is way better.
Zoom's way better.
Over a product they call Live Call Connect. So it's a little bit different than the Zoom you use at home, where it separates all the audio channels. So you can turn one person down and one person up and stuff. But
I thought Skype went defunct. Not
Yeah. it was
Yeah.
like-
Visit. Microsoft got rid of Skype.
you're right. It did.
Yeah.
But I mean, they could have made Teams work or something, but they switched to this
You
new
can
product,
use Teams
Live
on
Call
Live Call
Connect.
Connect.
So, and it works better than the
Way
talk
better.
shows, which is the servers we used to have.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. I think having a remote host, I like the concept. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's a forest fire across the street,
Across from him?
across from
here?
us.
No, like right there.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know
Yeah, we
that.
went outside during the broadcast and took pictures of the mountain on fire.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the funny thing is if we had to evacuate, we would have just been like, Craig, you're on your own. And the show would have went on.
and then just hope that the studio doesn't burn down. It's like,
Yeah.
we got no videos, guys. All right.
Yeah, no
See you
commercials.
later.
Craig, you're on your own.
We're drawing straws for who's using the hose out front to keep
Yeah.
the, to keep
No,
the,
and
the fire away.
who knows? It wasn't like a lightning strike. It was man-made. It was on Flagstaff. But there was right before sunset where it looked bad. And not
Oh,
that we
right.
thought it was
The
going to come to
glow.
us.
Yeah.
The glow and the smoke was settling down like in our yard.
Yeah.
So it looked rough.
And coming off like a pretty windy day out at the res, and then to come here and it's completely calm.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
was like kind of a good luck.
Yeah.
So anyway, a successful weekend. And then now coming up, Ryan's going to Coeur d'Alene.
Thursday.
Any pros?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Age group.
That's a great race.
It's the best.
Coeur d'Alene is the
Yeah, it
best.
might be the best. The 70.3 killed the full in Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason is you can get that Coeur d'Alene experience doing the 70.3, the same experience.
Yeah, totally.
And it's a multi-loop course, and then the 70.3, they just do one loop.
I'm super excited for some huckleberries.
Huckleberry lemonade.
It's the best.
It's vodka
Every version of
and just a
Huckleberry is the
splash
best.
of lemonade and a little spritz of huckleberry.
That's all it is. And then go take it out on the boat.
And then we have a first-year race this weekend, Ironman 70.3, Rockford, Illinois. And
that'll probably be better than Coeur d'Alene.
I hear the registration numbers are through the roof.
yeah, I mean, it's near
Yeah, you're
Chicago.
pulling from
Yeah.
Chicago.
And the race director is a friend of ours, Eric Atnip, and he's good at his job.
Is he
let's
from
put it
up
that
there?
way. They live in I think they live in
Indiana?
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
They live in Kentucky, but I don't know if that's where like he's from up that way. I can't.
I think he got recruited.
Voluntold.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
But it should be a good weekend. But probably where I was going with this is there's no major broadcasts. We
Yep.
do have soccer,
Yep.
and soccer is a lot of work for a small team.
It is. Yeah.
But we do have soccer. We have soccer tomorrow night, and then we have 2 games on
Have we talked
Saturday.
about how we streamlined it?
Yeah, well, we used to set up so soccer. There's like rules that the governing body of the soccer we broadcast, and one of them is you have to be elevated. And where we do soccer, there's no way to be elevated. So last year we took a 2-high scaff out there and built it every match. And building and breaking down the scaff took longer than the broadcast.
Yep.
So then this year we use ladders, and they kind of worked great. I mean, it
Setup and teardowns way
kind of made us
faster.
feel dumb about the scaff. Like it's not, you can't just walk around on top of the ladder
Right.
like you could on the scaff. But from a video production standpoint, it's like 9.5 out of 10 if the scaff was a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
And
fact,
the
it's-
scaff wasn't a 10. Like that's the thing is it's still really, really close to what the scaff was. Like
Yeah, the height.
versus without having like a production booth to sit in. It's
And so we
dead on.
mounted camera arms to the top of the ladders that then have like a fluid head for a tripod, and then the camera sits on it, and then the live view pack hangs off that. We broadcast it back to our studio, where typically is where I've been, and then it's just a 2-camera shoot. So we switch between 2 cameras and do graphics. And our graphics package is so overcomplicated for the soccer we do.
It's
It
so
is.
overcomplicated.
I mean, in Elias Euler's defense, the person that created it, it has everything.
yeah.
It has extra time.
it would
has,
do MLS.
It would
Yeah.
do. It would do professional soccer. I mean,
Yeah.
it has yellow cards and red cards and when people scored, and then if you just keep entering the information of the game in, it starts building stats for people and stuff like that.
That's
And
awesome.
so, but for the soccer we're doing, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but so no big broadcast this weekend. Sorry, Ryan, you're out of town. The other Ryan's out of town. Oh, we had the other Ryan was in Cairns
Oh, yep.
doing
Doing
GPS, which worked well. In fact, I don't think he ditched it on purpose, but Matt Morcart lost his GPS in transition.
Oh, really?
And that's a problem for somebody who's in the top.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought he might try to run into the lead, as he did. But Ryan went out on course and gave it to him back. And here's
Awesome.
where we
Seriously?
think when somebody ditches it, they aren't really wanting it back.
Yeah. Right.
And the 2 people that we've had that were in like the podium positions that lost their GPS this year, like happily took a replacement.
Oh, that's
In this
nice.
place, we didn't have to give him a replacement. We just gave him his GPS back, which is
Nice.
funny because we were able to go find it because
Yeah.
it's
Right, yeah.
GPS. And then because it's a 4-loop course, basically you just stand on the side of the road and they're going to come by in 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Here, take this.
Yeah. And he did.
That's awesome.
I know. We
That's
got to get
really
Ryan
awesome.
some meta glasses. Look who just walked in. Ryan, hi. Straight
Hey,
hot off the plane from Cairns, the GPS guy.
what a travel.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I very tired, obviously, but I'm feeling good. I heard from Mel that you guys were just talking about me with Marquardt.
Mm-hmm.
So, Marquardt lost his GPS. Do you believe that he lost it or ditched it?
Actually, he did talk to me about it. So what happened was he put it in between the pocket and his kit. You know, he only had it sewed in on the sides, and it slipped down to down his back, down to his crack.
Pro pocket panic.
Yep. And so when he was changing, it slipped out and it got into his athlete bag, and then I intercepted him.
And how did you find him? I mean, it's a 4-loop run course, so
Exactly. But so I checked the Ironman tracker, saw that if you've seen the course for Cairns, it goes around transition in a big triangle, and he was coming up along the leg to go way further out, several kilometers down the way, and he was coming right up there. I ran out of transition, ran to a crosswalk, and as soon as I got there, he ran past, and I sprinted after him, caught up with him, and we did an on-the-fly transfer, and he stuck it in his pocket.
nice.
Yeah.
And I was saying this earlier in the show, we've had 2 like people in podium position, you know, either ditch their GPS or quote unquote lose it. And in hindsight, we think they both lost it. The one guy just forgot it in his rack, but
Correct.
but he took it back.
Yeah.
And then went on to win the race.
Yeah, it's remarkable how that happened twice.
That did happen twice, that the
Yeah.
winner of the race lost their GPS or misplaced it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or threw it in the trash. No, we didn't. That's the thing I always figure. We find the GPS because it's a GPS device. And I think
Exactly.
you would find it in the trash if they ditched it.
Yep. I haven't found one in the trash yet.
Yet.
Yeah. Had to-
So Ryan went all the way to Cairns, handed out GPS. So all the men and women pros carry a GPS on their back, which reports back to a cloud server that we built that then mathematizes the number and then gives us positions and places. And it's worked pretty good. Like, I think it was a bigger lift than we anticipated. No, it's been a lot of work. I think we knew it was going to be difficult. But the one part that has went really well because of Ryan and Lane is the distribution, is getting all the athletes, the GPS, getting the GPS unit on their back, the pockets sewn in. We've hired seamstress in 10 cities. And then you guys have sewn some in and stuff like that. But kudos to you for getting them all out there. And yeah, it worked. It works better every week.
It does. It
And
really
so
does.
it definitely,
That's the exciting part, and like kind of significantly better. Every week.
yeah, except I can't remember what happened on the swim. Oh, maybe that was Eagle Man.
I think it was just Cairns that the swim course was backwards.
The KML file we got.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks in a row, the KML file we got was backwards. My understanding is,
Yeah.
and that's like the mapping file. And apparently we don't go look at it compared to what we know. So that's why I got involved in Lake Placid this weekend. I was like, that's not, they said it's the same as last year. And I'm like, but that wasn't last year.
Well, yeah, and I know that the Placid swim course is in a weird place because I think it was like 4 years ago I made the KML off of Hopes and Dreams to make an animated map because no one had one. So I was like, we're going to go about to here and here. And yeah, that's 2.8 kilometers.
We've made a lot of the KMLs, which not that we're dumb or bad, but we shouldn't be making the KMLs.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because we just do AV.
Yeah.
We
Just the
do
sound
AV.
guy.
Tell me something, Ryan, that you've learned this year from GPS distribution. First of all, I want to know that you probably have as much interaction with the pros of anybody before you answer that question, Eric Gilson style, Before you answer the question, answer this question.
Sure.
How has the pros been?
They've been very polite. They, they mostly just want to know what they need to do. And once they realize that they basically don't have to do anything apart from put it in the damn pocket, they are, they're polite. They're thoughtful. Some of them just forget to pick stuff up because they got their bell rung basically by doing a triathlon, or they just weren't thinking about it. But they're good people.
Who's the best?
Gosh, that's a tough question.
Who's the worst?
I was waiting for that one.
I'm not going to say who the worst is.
I mean, you said the other day it was Matt Hansen.
Say the country.
It's definitely not Matt Hansen. Let's be clear. That is somebody that we're friends with.
Yep. Yeah, they had complained to my face, but no, I've had some great interactions with Sven Weiss is a pro that I don't know if you've ever heard of, but he was just at Cannes, and he was had a great conversation with him after the race ended, and he's just we've talked a bunch and hit it off, and he's just like, yeah, it's working better, and I'm getting better, and I'm feeling good about it, and it's just good to hear the positivity from these athletes, because most of them are very positive, even if they have a bad race or even if they don't really like the GPS, they're still positive about it. It's like, it's heavy, or it feels big, but whatever. So that's been a great impression.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is Texas, we got a bunch of bad press from chafage.
Yeah, we did.
And it wasn't really the athletes complaining. It was, I won't mention any names, but some pot stirrers, some YouTube commenters took some photos, stirred it up, and then we felt bad. So we called some of the pros, and they were like, it wasn't a big deal. And then now I think we've made some adjustments to the outer casing of our GPS units that we think was responsible for some of the chafing.
Yes. And I always now have a big old tube of Vaseline to help that out as well, which you apparently have to, I learned in Germany, you have to ask the person at like a chemist shop to get the Vaseline for you. They don't just have that on the shelf.
It's not over the counter.
It's not. So I learned how to say I would like some Vaseline.
A lot of good jokes right there.
Yep. I'll leave that to you guys.
Awesome. Well, I want to say, and I've said it to his face, but Ryan has traveled all over the world this year. We haven't seen him. He's home for a day.
Yep.
And then he's going to Rockford. We talked about Rockford and Eric Atnip. I don't know if we mentioned him by name. We said a friend, but Eric Atnip is going to be the race director. It looks like a good race. The city looks motivated to put air conditioners in a bunch of the tents.
Yep. So we might be getting another generator. We'll see.
It'll be a good race.
Yep.
But welcome back, and thanks for all the non-dramatic travel. There hasn't been drama.
Yeah. It's been great. I've had to run through a few airports. I think I spent less than an hour in Amsterdam between touching the ground of wheels and back up in the air, but I've made it the whole time, so it's great.
And he's traveled like at least 50,000 miles.
Yeah, oh my God.
And no drama. And some of our guys fly from just like one East Coast city to the other, and we have to have people on call to like talk them down. It's going to be okay. There's going to be another flight.
Yeah, you're in the right country, dude.
We
You're
didn't
fine.
cancel it.
Yeah.
United canceled it. So, all right. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
You want to name names?
Of good and bad pros?
Well, no, of people who complain about their flights.
Oh, I'd rather name names with pros.
Okay, let's name.
You know
names
what?
with pros.
I'll be honest. There's no pros right now that I have an axe to grind with.
That's good.
And we could go
Yeah.
through the history, and there's lots of them.
Yeah.
But you know what? Right now, I don't have any pros.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's been a long time.
You don't go to enough events.
Well, then name some names.
I'm not naming names.
Lisa Baccaris might be the meanest person I've ever met.
Yeah, dude, she's crazy. I'd stay out of her way, especially on the bike.
Which anyone that knows Lisa, she's like one of the kindest
The only
people
normal
ever.
pros.
So Lisa McCarris and Matt Hansen
Lisa
Yeah.
McCarris
are
and
the
Matt Hansen
worst
are the
people
worst
ever.
just
Right.
just talk crap about the nicest people you know. That's it.
Yeah, and I think more pros are like those two than
Yeah.
different
But not.
than not. So kudos to that. And we don't really know a lot of the cycling pros yet.
Yeah.
I
They
mean, you
seem
did all
cool,
the
though.
interviews and they
Mhm.
seem cool,
Yeah.
but
There's
wait,
some that were
wait till we cross them on the side of the road and they have a flat and they're like, help me. And you're like, I'm shooting video. Gotta go.
Gotta go.
and then I think we only got one more thing we should talk about. Our friend Bob Gitcham.
Yeah. And it's not just him, but let's talk about Bob is doing Challenge Roth.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And it's a big lift for him
Mm-hmm.
because he has to finish
Sub
On-
15.
sub 15, which he's done,
Right.
but he doesn't do it every race.
And his main concern is he's got some like heel spurs that still cause him where he can't run. And that's his main concern is trying to put together a fast enough swim and bike that he can still walk the run.
Yeah, which means that you got to keep moving.
Yeah.
And Bob, if you've followed us, he was actually on episode 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he was in a head-on collision. He was the victim of a head-on collision where somebody veered into his lane, and he was lucky to survive, much less come back and do Ironman. And now, he's done everything there is to do in Ironman. He's done Kona a couple
Yeah.
times. He's been a foundation athlete in Kona, and last year he was a legacy athlete in Kona. And then now Challenge Roth was next on his list.
He's an ex-pro football player too.
College.
Yeah. I thought he played pros.
He played at Portland State. The big
Nice.
guy, Bob Gitcham.
Sick.
We have a cool video clip and some of the videos we've made on him. But kudos to him. But I think what we were bringing up, and we might have to edit this out also because I think it's okay to talk about, but correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus,
Mhm.
is that, well, it's obviously okay to talk about because we released a video on it, but Bob found out that he had PTSD from his accident. And I think a lot of people think PTSD is really just, something you get in the military or combat, and it's
Yeah.
not. It can come from all kinds of things, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah. 100%.
Somebody, it might be seeing their dog die, and for somebody else, it's a car wreck or it's a firefight. It's different for everybody, and different levels of trauma cause different things for different people. But he found out that he was suffering from PTSD, and we did a video. And if you Google
Yeah.
Bob Gitcham, you'll be able to find the video
On YouTube, he's at Papa Gitch.
at Papa Gitch.
Yep.
Gitch.
Gitch. You can also search Bob Gitcham on YouTube, and that usually pulls it up.
And then his last video, though, he reached out to us and said people had been reaching out to him
Yeah.
and discovered that maybe that's something that they had been through had caused PTSD.
Yeah.
And
which
I think,
is awesome.
and I think the coolest thing, and Marcus, congrats on that video. You did a really great job, and Bob's really well spoken.
Yeah.
But I think we make so much content. I cut, between the shows this weekend, like 15 hours of content.
Yeah.
And it just goes in one eyeball and out the other. But then a piece like that, Bob reached out and said, hey, this is important stuff. And that means a lot. But then I crossed it on Instagram where somebody else had shared it
Yeah.
and somebody else had posted it. And I was like, whoa. And it looks like it's gotten some traction. And that, I wish we did more of that.
Yeah. I agree. That's what makes what we do so special is getting to help people share their stories.
Not do 12-second cut downs.
Not do 12 seconds. For some reason, those just don't hit for me.
The 12-second cut down is like an obligation that we do. It seems short to me. I'm 56, I found out today.
It's a bit short.
It's a bit short, but it was good to get feedback and know all the content we made used to be meaningful.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say like race coverage and stuff isn't meaningful, but it's just so different.
It is.
It gets way more eyes. A million, we touch, I'm just going to guess 100 times more people than we touched 7 or 8 years ago when we were making all feel-good content.
Yeah.
And now we're making virtually no feel-good content or very little. But this was a little side project and it felt good. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we should do more of this.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. And I was proud of him for being willing to share that, because I know, especially as, football player, and a man, you just have there's a certain hesitance to share those deep emotional things. And he was like, you know what? No, I know that this could help people, and so I'm not going to back down. I'm going to share it.
Yeah. And then as he mentioned, there's always been this thought that PTSD is reserved for somebody that went to Iraq.
Yeah, 100%.
And not to take anything at all away from that, but it isn't reserved for that.
Yeah.
It's different.
It is.
Whether it's more severe or less severe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Grateful not to have it,
Yeah.
But for the people that think they might, and Bob, I think, brought this up in his videos, go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I thought
Never
that was
hurts to
cool.
talk to somebody.
He's a role model,
Yeah, 100%.
which is cool.
It is.
So we're looking forward to Challenge Roth. Unfortunately, Bob, we booked a houseboat at Lake Powell. And then somebody else who I really like is doing Challenge Roth, and she says it's her last race, and that's Laura Siddall.
Oh,
And
really?
I hope it's not her last race. It's got to be hard. Like, she's top 10 in Kona. She's a great athlete. She's a great pro. We work with her in content every week. I work with her every week.
Yeah.
I think the world of her. She's a great person. And it's got to be hard to age up.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and then she did St. George, and I thought she had a good race. And then Challenge Roth, and then she says that she's out. I hope that's not true, but I understand.
Yeah,
Like, it's got to be hard. It's a lot.
totally.
And she'll have a bright career in broadcasting content, stuff like
Coaching,
that,
yeah.
coaching, stuff like that.
Totally.
And it's always interesting to talk to her after like cans and get her take. And she's one of the things I'll say about Laura Siddall is she listens to my opinion on what happened in a race, where all our other commenters are like, you don't know shit. Stop talking.
Yeah.
It's my turn. And I know a little something, not a lot, but I have been
Yeah,
a part of
you've
the
been
sport
around
for
for a
20
while.
years.
Yeah.
So
Probably watch more of the broadcast than anybody.
I've maybe watched more triathlon and been to more events than anybody on the planet. And I've edited more triathlon than I'm sure there's some people. I know there's people out there like Kevin McKinnon and stuff like that that have been around longer than me and have been shooting and editing and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been a long road.
Yeah.
But anyway, Laura Siddall's doing Roth, and I wish her the best. And I wish
Yeah.
we could go. Some year we're going to go.
Totally.
Where is it?
Germany.
Roth.
Roth.
Yeah. I forgot what country it is. I knew it wasn't here.
I'll be honest, I couldn't remember. So.
And I've heard great stuff about it. And so hopefully.
Yeah. And it's one of those where the town, it's like Emporia for Unbound. The town becomes the race. That's what I've heard. Like everything I've seen is like they have like build like an amphitheater for the race, basically, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah. And I'm a believer that high tide floats all boats.
Yeah.
And so giving props to who's easily our biggest competitor, doesn't bother me. I'm sure I'm fired, but it doesn't bother me because the high tide floats all boats, and Roth is successful. It just makes Ironman more successful.
100%.
So
People want to experience as much as they can.
as much as they can of triathloning.
Yep.
And I saw there was another triathlon in Vancouver this weekend, T100, which I honestly don't know that much about, but I saw a picture of two people that I would consider friends, Greg Welch and Jordan Back is somebody who I used to announce Ironman Canada with.
Nice.
And just a great dude. I mean, just nothing bad you could say about Jordan Back. I mean, he would announce races and sing the national anthem.
Nice.
So Z-Bart does that too, I know.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, 500 cats. The summer is now a little more manageable.
Yes. Thank
and then
goodness.
late July, it's going to blow up again.
Yeah.
Is that we have Ironman Lake Placid, which is a broadcast on the same day of the Foco Fondo, which is a broadcast. And then the following week is going to be Ironman Ottawa first year race.
70.3 Boise first year race.
There's some logistics involved in Ottawa that we won't go into the details about with tariffs and borders. And
I'm not excited about it.
I'm excited.
You want to swap?
No, I need to be here for the criterium.
Yeah, the criterium.
The new criterium drone is showing up today.
Oh, nice.
That we were able to order a new Mavic 4 Pro with the RC2 Pro controller that is supposed to stay in the air for 50 minutes.
And go 30 kilometers.
5-0? That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that'll help with broadcasting,
Oh, yeah. Tremendously.
is what I told myself.
That's
I bought
how
it.
I justified the expense.
And then potentially Leadville 100.
Yep.
And then it gets worse. Oh, and then Gravel Worlds
Yeah.
is just right after that. And then there's a bunch of events sprinkled in there. But that's from like my schedule more than anything. So
It's fine. Everything's fine.
it's fine.
September's
fine.
pretty packed too.
Yeah, but nothing crazy. I mean, I feel like we didn't know how we were going to do
April, I didn't know how we were going to do
how
it.
we were going to do it in May.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, is it going to work? Is this a mistake? Did we bite off more than we can chew?
I wasn't confident that
The helicopter could stay in the air for that long.
I wasn't confident all of us were going to be sitting here at the end of May.
I agree, especially me. I was less worried about you guys as me. And then it kind of, because last week was rough too. We
Yeah.
had soccer, Eagle Man soccer, like all in like a 24-hour period.
Yep.
And now it's just a little bit more manageable.
Yeah,
So,
which is awesome.
except they're tearing the road out in front of our office/studio, so you can't get here,
Yeah.
which is funny. I've ridden my bike in and home the last few days, but so I haven't had to deal with the parking yet.
It's fine.
Yeah, I wish somebody had given me a warning because I had to drive up the canyon a bit and turn around.
Mel sent an email.
We did.
Oh,
It
really?
was Kate sent an email out with what we got from the state that said, "Here's what's going to happen."
Oh, no, I wish somebody had told me, hey, it's underway today.
It said Friday.
Did it?
Yeah.
When did it
There
say
was a
that?
whole email.
I saw the email. I read
Yeah,
the email.
it had a
Did it have
map,
dates
but
on it? I saw the map.
to be
I knew how to
clear,
get in.
The
Anyway.
very first day we did what the Colorado Department of Transportation said, go here, and the guy's like, beat it.
Really?
You're not getting through here. And we were like, really? The first day? And since then, they've fixed it,
Okay.
apparently. We'll see. So 500 cats. Let us know if you've got subjects and things in the event business we want to talk about. Can we talk about one more thing in the event business?
Let's do it.
Man, this is going to open a can of worms. So maybe we'll just say that's it for the show, and then Marcus can end it right here. It seemed like you had something else to say.
All right. Well, no. That's got to cut in earlier.
I think we
anyway,
should
so
edit
we
the
already-
political stuff out.
I strongly agree.
Yeah. And
All of it.
leave the part where
But
we
the-
talk about editing. it
Yes.
out.
Oh, 100%. The edit points are saying it.
Edit in from here. Okay, let's edit that whole section about. Let's
where
just
we
edit
talked
that
about
out.
politics. All right. We already kind of signed off. Do you
Yeah.
want to sign off again?
No, that's it.
We need an AI song.
Oh man! And I made one, and it
It
didn't
should
come.
be about the parade.
I made one about jiggly cameras, but it didn't come out very well, so we can't use that.
It's got to be about Vaseline.
Jiggly
Jiggly cameras and Vaseline.
behind the counter Vaseline.
How about we'll make one called Lisa Baccaris and Matt Hansen are the worst people ever.
Lisa